Welcome to your weekly UAS news update. This is the week of April 12th, 2021. This is week 99. Next week, we are recording our 100th episode, which is really exciting. This week, I've got 4 topics. The first one is the Mavic Air 2S. We've been talking about this for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it is finally out in the stores. So we'll take a look at the drone. We get our hands on one of them, and we're pretty excited. The next thing is there's a new smart controller, not from DJI this time, but from Autel. So we'll talk about the new controller. We'll take a look at how it actually compares to the DJI controller and then what you can expect. We have an update for the Mars drone, or actually maybe not an update. Nothing is happening at the moment. And then lastly, we have some Pilot Institute news. So let's get to it. And the first topic this week is obviously the Mavic. No, it's not a Mavic. It's an Air 2S. Finally got released. This thing had more leaks than a Titanic. I swear, it was everywhere online before it even got talked about by DJI. So we've been chasing one all day this morning. This is release day as we're recording this. But I got a good friend, Haye, is from Drone Excel. You've seen him before on the show. Haye has one, and he's got a lot to talk about on this drone. So, Haye, welcome to the show. As always, thanks for joining us and telling us about the latest and the greatest from the drone world.
Hey, Greg, how are you? Thanks for having me on the show. And yes, today we're going to take a closer look at this not so pretty drone, perhaps, with the bug eye appearance. But anyway, it's the new DJI Air 2S. And it's quite the capable drone for $1,000. So let's look at all the details here.
Yeah, this is insane. The price point, as I'm looking at the specs, DJI just did another pretty crazy thing here with the amount of features that you get packed into this small drone, and even with the additional batteries at what $12.99 I think is the Fly More combo, where you get filters and you get the batteries and everything. For first question, I know this is on everybody's mind. There's two questions that people have been asking online. The first one is, can you fit the old batteries from the Air 2 in this new drone?
Yeah, you can. I mean, I have the original Mavic Air 2 here as well, and you can take these batteries, and if I take the new one, they fit and you can fire up the drone without any problems. So these batteries are interchangeable. They might not have the exact same spec, but they work and they fit, so that should not be a problem at all.
Yeah, I think the drone is a little bit heavier, so we can expect probably not a little bit lower performance in terms of flight time. And the other question is smart controller compatibility. We've been kind of talking about this for the last few weeks. Is it compatible?
Actually, I've heard from Jasper, and he's one of the guys who writes for Drone Excel. He tweeted earlier today that it is backwards compatible. So that's kind of interesting. I haven't been able to try that myself yet, but apparently it is, even though you have different versions of AccuSync, because I think the smart controller is AccuSync 2.0, and this is 03. DJI decided to drop the name AccuSync, so they call it 03 now, but it's a new generation, and apparently it works. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, I was thinking, I saw the update. There's a release notes for one of the update. The most recent one they did for this drone and they show compatibility for this thing. So for me, it's a good thing and a bad thing in a way, because this means that we may not see a new smart controller for a while. Actually, I'm talking in this show, the next topic is we're talking about the new smart controller from Autel, which is much more expensive, but has some really cool specs. But anyway, that's a different topic. But so what did we see in this drone that wasn't leaked, or that's kind of extraordinary for a drone at the $999 price point?
Yeah, I think pretty much all the specs were leaked. I mean, the thing that blew me away is that this drone has video recording capabilities of 150 megabits per second. And if you remember, the original Mavic 2 Pro only goes up to 100 megabits per second. And that drone also was plagued by softer 4K video footage, whereas the Air 2 S now records up to 5.4K video at 30 frames per second, or 4K video at 60 frames per second, but at a much higher bit rate. So you're going to get deeper colors, more detail in the footage from this drone. And based on some of the videos reviews that I was watching earlier today, that seemed to be confirmed. So I think for $1,000, you now get a drone with a 1-inch sensor that rivals basically the DJI Mavic 2 Pro with pretty much the same specs for less money. I mean, really the only things that are significantly different for the DJI Air 2S is the fact that it doesn't have any obstacle avoidance sensors on the side of the drone, so you have to watch out when you do things like orbiting, and be careful for any obstacles that might get into your way. The other thing is the fact that it doesn't have a variable aperture. So the DJI Mavic 2 Pro goes from 2.8 all the way to f11. This one has a fixed aperture at f2.8. So you have to use neutral density filters in order to balance out the light, but you will not be able to get any difference in depth of field, basically, because you have a fixed aperture. So if those things are really important, then I think you have to wait for the Mavic 3, or just basically stick with the DJI Mavic 2 Pro. Otherwise, the only other difference really is the Hasselblad color profile that you get with the DJI Mavic 2 Pro. To me, that's not really a big issue at all, because I think in post-production you can pretty much mimic those colors if you're so in favor of those. But otherwise, for $1,000, this is one heck of a drone.
Yeah, if you look at the market right now, obviously we have the Mavic 2 Pro, we just talked about this. In terms of the 1-inch market, you have the Evo 2 6K, the Pro version, and that's what, $1,700, I think. The Mavic 2 Pro right now is about $1,500, and then you've got this thing coming in now at $1,000. So DJI going not only after their own thing, but obviously going after Autel with their Evo 2. It'll be interesting to see the response and what happens, because Autel doesn't have two versions of their foldable drones. They really only have the Evo 2 with different versions of the Evo 2 in itself. What do you think we'll see here, the market responding?
I think if anybody is in the market right now for a new drone and a somewhat serious drone, then I don't really think there's any other drone out there that would compete in terms of specs, but also in terms of pricing. I mean, yeah, you can pay more and get a drone that might outperform this drone in certain areas. But I mean, if you look at flight time, you look at range, you look at the ease of use, the master shots and quick shots that this drone has, then you have a 1-inch sensor with really awesome video recording capabilities. I don't really know what else you would consider if you can get this for $1,000. I mean, really the only drone that I would consider would be the FPV drone, because you get this whole different sensation of flying. Mm-hmm. But in terms of photography and videography, until the Mavic 3 comes out, I think this drone is the one to get, basically.
So what do we get in the Mavic 3 that's better than this for $500, possibly $600, $700 more? I mean, what can they do? Bigger sensor? I mean, what do you think?
I think that's a great question. I mean, you really start to wonder what it is at this point that you would expect for more money and a better drone. I mean, I think one no-brainer would be that you get obstacle avoidance in all directions. So you get the side sensors as well on a Mavic 3. Then I think the attention would quickly shift to the camera capabilities. So maybe you get a higher resolution, maybe 8K video, maybe you get 4K at higher frame rates, maybe even a higher bit rate. In terms of the camera and the lens itself, we've heard rumors in the past about Phantom drones and even Mavics with interchangeable lenses. I mean, that would be a game changer, obviously. Maybe a fast zoom lens, that could also be a game changer. But I think if you start looking at those kind of options, then now you're also cannibalizing your Inspire market, if you will. Forget about the old Phantom 4 Pro version 2. I mean, that will become irrelevant. Mm-hmm. But I would think that you have to start looking at those kind of features in terms of the camera, because otherwise, why would you pay probably twice as much for a Mavic 3 if the added benefits aren't big enough? So it's going to be interesting to see what they come out with. Then on the other side, I have no doubt that DJI will come out with a Mavic 3, and just like they've been doing with all the other drones that they come out with, they'll find ways to blow our minds and come up with something that's going to be better and make us pull our wallet and yet place another order for another drone, I guess.
We'll wait another 2 months and then we'll get the Mavic 3.
That's another good point, right? I mean, if they come out with the Air 2S at this point and they basically make the Mavic 2 Pro obsolete, then I would be inclined to think that a Mavic 3 cannot really be far away anymore, because by making the Mavic 2 Pro obsolete, they now sell a drone for $1,000, where the Mavic 2 Pro was $1,600. So DJI is going to make less revenue on selling these drones. I think that makes the Mavic 3 more urgent, and hopefully we'll see one this summer or maybe by late summer.
Well, let's go to Best Buy every day and we'll see if it shows up on the shelf.
Best Buy has has been one of the most reliable leakers in the last couple of years. It's unbelievable. I've seen them in the store or even buy them in the store. And of course, if you buy a drone before the release date, DJI does not update the app for you. So you have a brick basically as a drone. And you'll have to wait until the official release day and time before those apps get updated and before you can fly your drone. But it's always fun to see people walking out of a Best Buy with a yet to be officially released product. And it happens every time.
Yeah, and we had one of our students actually take a picture of it. And I think you made an article out of this and just showing up and here it is at Best Buy showing up on the shelf. So.
No, I was going to say it's stores like Best Buy, but even like the online stores, when they get the specs for new products, they prep their online stores. And a lot of times, if you dig around a little bit, you can find images and specs on those sites as well. And that's something we've been doing also. So we'll be looking for the Mavic 3, and hopefully we'll get to see that this summer. It would make for a very exciting 2021, I think, with 3 new awesome drones from DJI. So fingers crossed for that one.
Yep, I agree. Well, Haye, as always, appreciate your time, and we'll keep our eyes open. If you guys want more information about the drone, head over to Drone Excel. They always have a ton of great information about it. And then I'll see you actually tomorrow. We're going to be recording our podcast. So we'll see you tomorrow for more information.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to the show tomorrow. So that's awesome.
All right. Thanks, Haye. The next thing this week is the smart controller not from DJI, but from Autel. And Autel is releasing this thing at the end of April. We are seeing some information online. It's actually not very easy to find information. It's not even on the Autel website, which is interesting. But some of the resellers online are starting to take money as a deposit, saying that it's going to sell at the end of April or start shipping at the end of April. This thing is going to be compatible with the Evo 2 series. So if you have an Evo 2, one of the 3 or 4 that are out there, it looks like it's going to be working with all 4 of these drones. They released a video, which you can see playing in the background right now, which basically it looks like the same form factor as the smart controller. Now, the smart controller from DJI is on the way out based on a lot of insider information that we've seen. And this is actually, for me, quite exciting to see Autel coming out with something very similar, because it's hopefully going to push DJI to come up with a new version of it, which is exciting for everyone involved. So if we look at a comparison, here's a little table that we put together to show you the difference between the DJI controller and the Autel, the new controller around the corner. And you can see quite a bit of a difference in the size of the screen. We have a 7.9-inch Retina display, a touch screen, which is cool, from Autel. 5.5 on the smart controller. Now, quite frankly, I have a smart controller I've been using for a long time from DJI, and I like the form factor. I like the size of the screen, so I'm excited to see a bigger screen. That would be an even better performance and a better experience flying the drone. Resolution, we can see 2048 by 1536, and the important part here on the Autel display is the 2000 nit, which is the brightness. Okay, it's a unit of brightness. 2000 is actually double what we see on the DJI controller. Now, again, I have experience with the DJI controller. This thing is bright even in the Arizona sunlight. This thing will just display whatever you want in any condition. I actually don't have a little shade for mine, and it works great even in plain daylight. So 2000 nit, I'm really excited to see what that's going to look like. In terms of weight, a big difference in weight: 1150 grams for the Autel controller and 630 grams for the DJI Smart controller. So that's almost double the weight. I don't know that it's that big of a factor, quite frankly, because if you have a lanyard maybe that you're using, then I don't think it's going to be much of an issue. In terms of battery life, 4.5 hours at 55% brightness, which is 1000 nits, just like the DJI controller. Otherwise, it's 3 hours if you use 100% brightness. I really don't see how often you're going to use 100% brightness, or if it's going to be necessary, quite frankly, but it's going to be interesting. 2.5 hours on the smart controller from DJI. Operating system, both of them are using a modified version of Android. I can't say that I'm a fan. This has been actually a bit of a pain in the rear end to deal with on the DJI Smart controller. So I'd like to see the ability to add new software is not really that easy with the DJI Smart Controller. So I'll be interesting to see what Autel comes up with in this case. 128 gig of internal memory for the Autel, and only 16 gig for the Smart Controller, but you can add an SD card to increase the size. I'm not sure if there is SD card capability. We couldn't find that information on the Autel version, but we'll see. A big difference in price. $12.99 for the Autel, which is, quite frankly, as much as a small drone, or medium-sized drone, I should say. So that's not cheap. The DJI Smart Controller was not cheap at $750. So this might be a breaking point for a lot of people. Unfortunately, it is the price point. But I hope I can get my hands on one of them and kind of see what it looks like. But we'll keep you guys posted when that happens. Next story this week is the Mars drone. We've talked about the Mars drone in the past, and it was supposed to do its first flight this week, and it's not happening. There's an issue with the DJI approval process. Not just kidding. There's an issue with the software, and they have to actually do a software update, and it's pretty cool because they're saying they know exactly what to do. Now they need to send the software update to the rover that's on Mars that was carrying this UAS the entire time, and then the rover is going to send the information to the drone so it can start flying again. Now NASA is not really setting a test date just yet. They're hoping to fly very soon. They said that next week they're going to give us more information about the window of time when they're supposed to be flying this thing. A lot of people are waiting for this thing to fly. It's really exciting. So I'm going to put a link down in the comment section if you want to see more information. Go check out that article. Last thing this week is a Pilot Institute update. We have actually quite a few updates. The FAA updated the Airman Certification Standard on April 6th, which was the day that the new exam went in. This was actually kind of confusing from the FAA. They've never done that in the past. They always publish the ACS, Airman Certification Standard, and then they apply new changes to the test. They did both of them on the same day, which is not really good for training schools like us because you kind of have to guess what's going to be on the exam, which we did. The FAA came up with 49 new tasks on the ACS, and out of 49 of these, we had 44 of them already in the course. Since the end of January, our course has been updated, so there was only 5 tasks that were missing. We got busy, and then by Friday, we had all of the new videos posted. So we have 7 new videos in the course to go with these 5 different tasks that were missing. I'm happy to report that our students have been doing awesome this whole week with the new exam. We got a 91% average this week, which is only a few points lower than usual, but just amazing. You guys have been doing a great job out there. So we had 75 students take the exam last week, and all of them passed, and again, 91% average. So that was pretty awesome. I'm going to put a link to the ACS, the Airman Certification Standard. That's where the FAA has all of the standards required to become a remote pilot. So that's where you get that information. We have a new course, and we talked about this last week. This is our FPV course, the DJI FPV course. It's free. It's a deep dive course, which means that we deep dive into the drone. You can find it on our website. I'm going to put a link down in the description as well. And you'll be able to basically learn everything you want to know about this FPV drone, how to use it. I even found a bunch of things that are not in the manual. So head over there. It's free. This is our gift to the community. Make sure that people are flying safely, and we're really excited about this. And then the last piece of news for Pilot Institute, we have a new employee. Hi, Jason.
Hi.
Jason is right here. Jason Wood is joining us he's going to be our UAS coordinator for the program, the UAS program. And Jason is really going to be helping me do a lot of things that have to do with our UAS program. So we're working on new videos for you guys. We're working on new content. So I'm really excited to have Jason on board. Jason graduated from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. He has a UAS degree, a UAS bachelor's degree, and he's bringing a lot of experience and a lot of expertise, and we're really excited to have him on board. So you'll see him on some of the videos. You've actually seen Jason on some of the videos. He was the observer during our night light testing that we did a couple weeks ago during one of the drone busters. So you've seen Jason on video, and I'm sure you'll see a lot more of him. So Jason, welcome on board.
Thank you.
Last thing is we have our podcast, the Pixel Drone Show, every Tuesday morning. We have a cool guest this week. We're talking about remote ID and possibly a point of view that you may not expect. So that's all I'm going to say for right now. So Loretta is going to be with us talking about remote ID on this Tuesday, and make sure you head over. We have a different channel for this. You can find more information on pixeldroneshow.com, or you can go on any of the podcasts, or you can go on the YouTube channel and make sure you go out there. This is episode number 5 that we're putting out. So that's it. That's all I have for you this week. Make sure you check out the news update for Airplane. This week I'm talking about United being in the news, United Airlines, and this is actually a good thing this time. I know United hasn't been in the news for good stuff for a while. We're talking about a Subaru flying motorcycle. Go check it out. It's kind of a really interesting concept. And we're talking about Sun and Fun and a bunch of little, I call them industry briefs, where we're just talking about very short stories in the aviation industry. So hope to see you there. This is on our Airplane channel, our 3rd channel. And in the meantime, make sure you fly safe. Don't be a UAS hole, and I'll see you next week.